Hi there, welcome to this video series on ReactJS. ReactJS is one of the very powerful and really awesome tool for creating interactive web applications. And in this video series, most of the time we are not going to use any dependency, which means we are going to do everything in a plain HTML file, so we do not need to install anything. And this React, thanks to Facebook for coming out of something like this. So the first step in learning React is that go to the React installation page and download this HTML file. It's a vanilla React Hello World HTML file. If you download it and run it, it will say you something like this. Now go to the page source, copy the page source, and go to our editor and paste it. Now just to make sure that everything works fine, I run my own HTML file and I can see the hello world. Well, let's say we say hello React because we are learning React.js and fine. First step, React DOM is something similar to our HTML DOM. We'll see in later video what it exactly means, but it's render as the function says, it renders into the DOM. So whatever being displayed in the HTML, it is because of this render function, as we can see over here, and it actually rendering in the element called root, which is defined over here. Now, when we are rendering, we will not render only one thing, we'll render many things, like say, I'm saying welcome. And let's go back to our editor and run it. So it's not displaying anything, so something has happened. What has happened is that render takes only one parameter, and if you want to pass more than one parameter, you need to cover it into a top level parameter, for example inside a div. So you'll always make this handy because it's not only true for this render function of React DOM, but it's true for any render function in React. So go back, it's printing welcome. That's great. Now React is all about components, and we'll be using ES6 syntax over here. Okay, so let's create our first React component. So React component is created like first React component extends react.component. Okay, and each React component has a render function which returns what needs to be rendered inside the screen. For example, here I can do is that I can cut everything and paste it in this return function. Now this is my first component which renders this thing, but I need to call this render function from somewhere, which is the React DOM.render function. And how I will do that? So it's a very simple JSX syntax that we need to do is that just like normal HTML tag. So I'm calling my component, first React component, inside React DOM.render to render whatever is there in the first React component. Let's go back and see. Yep, things are fine. Just to be sure, we just add something into it that it's actually rendering, and we see yes, it does. So congratulations, we have just created our first React component. But the overall React application is never consisted of one component. It actually consists of multiple components. So let's create our React 2 component. Again, it will, every component will extend from react.component, and everyone will have a render function which will return what needs to be rendered. Let's say here I am returning I am a second component. Fine. So let's go ahead and run our code. So output is same, nothing changes. Why? We have created a second component, but we haven't called it. So let's call our second component inside the render function. and see what happens. We can see that second component gets called. So that's the way I can call any component in the render function, but we need to call a sequence of components from inside the render function. For example, we need to make sure that we call this second component from the first React component, because we cannot give two IDs over here. In fact, we can do that like this. Let's say I put div first React, then I'm giving this my React 2 component, and I am saying ending the div. Let's go back and see. It's printing both of them. So, but if we want my component to print to render the React 2 component, I can do something like this. I can call this React 2 component from here and see the output. Yes, it's the same output. So that's the way a component chain happens, which renders different things into our page. This React.render can also be called multiple times, like first time for first React component, second time for second React component, like this. But there is a problem. When I run this, the second one seems to have override the first one because they are using the same ID. If I want to do something like this, we can create a new ID. Let's say we call it root 2 and give the root 2 over here. And you can say that, yes, it is being called in the second div. This is being called twice because it's being called from here also. But in general, we end up using only one React DOM because we want one main render function which chains together all the component and render it in the page. So that is the way we create a React component. And last but not the least, that we don't need, when we load our page, every time this is being fetched, so we can just copy it and store it in local folder and call it like this, so that it doesn't download all these 3 files every time I load my page. So that's all about the beginning of React, the React components. I hope we understand what is the meaning of React component and what is the basic framework of React component and how it is being used. That's it for this particular video. So thanks a lot. Thanks for watching. Keep tuning in.